as they say, is getting ready for actually pegging PDI. Again, I'm not like the expert on this, and I don't know if everything they're saying is true, but as of today, what they have been saying for the last year has been true. So I do believe that their research is valid.
Yeah. I mean, it seems to be pretty much conclusive at this point. Like, it's almost bulletproof. And I'm not doing I'm not doing the research on myself on PDI and the pegging and all of that, but the smart people that I follow, that I'm friends with, they're doing the research, like hundreds of hours of it, and they're saying, they're the ones that are making these claims, and they're emphatic about it. I'm like, I'm just riding on their shirt tails.
Oh yeah, they're passionate about it. Like, when you hear these guys talk, they seem very passionate and certain about this happening. The thing I love is with pTGC and UFO, you win either way. And obviously we would win better if the pegging was true. Like, if the pegging is true, it creates like the ultimate scenario for pTGC and UFO, because the pegging for PDI is like a 40x away or whatever it is, a 50x away.
Yeah.
So, and same with wrap Bitcoin. Like, they think now that wrap Bitcoin is also going to peg to the Bitcoin price, which would be awesome for marketing of Pulse Chain if we could say that, hey, just a month ago you could have bought Bitcoin for $1,000 and now it's worth the same price as the real Bitcoin. But what I'm getting at is they're only a 40x away. So if all these people have like $1 million of PDI and it gets to $1, well, they know that's the highest PDI is ever going to go.
Yes.
It's now a stable coin. So naturally what they're going to go, and in that process of it going up, we would get free X's because the X multiplier, and free volume and volatility due to our system and how it works. So you rake in a lot of free value. But once it's there, for an example, if you were a newly found millionaire and you weren't planning on exiting that money out of crypto instantly, I would assume most people would then say, well, what can I move this money in that it will keep appreciating in price if I'm not ready to stay in a stable coin in the bull run, or I think there's still more room to run. Naturally, I think a good portion of these newfound millionaires will move their value into new stores of value, things that they think they're going to appreciate. And I think, Pulse Chain, PulseX, Hex, possibly Inc. are great opportunities as well. But I also do think a portion of that value is going to come to pTGC and UFO.
Yeah.
Because pTGC and UFO has shown to outperform the main tickers over time. Not every day, but over time. It pays APY for just holding, and it's deflationary. So if you're someone who did become, a millionaire overnight or whatever, you're going to want that money to work for you. And you're going to want it to appreciate in value as well, is what I'm guessing. I think we have a good solution to that problem. And I do think a good portion of that value is going to come over, especially that, in terms, we're an index of all the other things that they could pick from. If they're thinking of going to PLS, PLSX, Hex, and they can't make up their mind, you just land on pTGC or UFO and you're holding every single one of those in one shot, and it's deflationary, and you're just getting paid APY for just holding.
Yep.
It really 100%. Makes sense. So
100%.
I'm really excited to see if this narrative's true. You know what I mean? It'll be super exciting for the chain. It'll be super exciting for pTGC and UFO. I see us gaining a ton of value if the narrative is true. So it's good to know that we're positioned, in my opinion, very, very well for the outcome.
Yeah. I mean, pTGC and UFO are quite literally the easy button of the Pulse network. I mean, when new users come over to the Pulse chain and they're like brand new chain, don't know what tokens to buy, they can literally start with pTGC and UFO and then look at other projects. Because by holding pTGC and UFO, they hold the blue chips on the network. Hex, Pulse, PulseX, Inc., PDI. I mean, they can literally just start there.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, the index meta, like the idea of an index holding a lot of one thing in one thing, has done very, very well for many decades now. Like there's commodity index, there's stock index, there's tons of different indexes. So it makes sense that in term a crypto index, if you hold one, you hold all of these that are the blue chips of the network, would do very, very well. Like for an example, a common stock index, I'm not going to name names because I don't want to get in trouble, but it's like a $45 trillion market cap. 45 trillion. And that's just one. So that's what I'm getting at is an index of cryptos in a decentralized matter alone has tons of market value. That's not even to mention the 10 other features we have on top of it, which is just amazing.
Yeah. And so that's one of the things that I'm going to be emphasizing is just that. They're the index tokens. They're the easy button over on the Pulse network. And there was somebody that yesterday, I believe it was, dumped a ton of pTGC for PDI. And I'm showing on my screen the pTGC DAI pair against DAI. pTGC is up against DAI over the last, since October 2023 is up 5,600%. So, and that just demonstrates that, if this trend continues, pTGC will continue to outperform PDI. So
the thing with PDI is it has a point it will stop at if the narrative is true. To where pTGC's stopping point is endless.
Exactly.
The deflation will always be there. With a new user coming in, there isn't a mechanism keeping it at a certain price. Like it will keep going up in price if new users keep coming in, and if Pulse Chain is highly successful.
Right.
In the short term, maybe they're looking for that quick. If RH, pegs it overnight or whatever some people think is going to happen, he could be looking for that quick movement. But the natural fact is, then what do you do with it? I'm sure that at that point there will be ways to earn yield, but a lot of times the yield will never outplay the X's, right? Like if the protocol just does it 2X in a year, that automatically pretty much beats out every bit of yield. I look at the yield as like the cherry on top, right?
Yes. Yep, absolutely. So, I mean, that was a rookie move, in my opinion. If somebody they weren't educated enough, which is one of the reasons we like to have these spaces, is to educate. So, guys, if you have any questions, this is a safe place to do that. And just got to raise your hand.
I have a hard time calling people rookies because he probably isn't a rookie at all. He's probably just trying to take advantage of the amount of momentum that's on PDI currently. Like it's quite obvious that there's tons and tons of momentum in PDI right now. Like every main RH influencer is talking about that. It's the hottest news on Pulse Chain, but I just, we can remind everyone because sometimes they forget we are part of PDI at this point. Like we have so much market value tied with PDI that when you hold pTGC and UFO, in turn, you're holding a portion of PDI along with other tokens. So on the up days, you might not get as much of the up because the other assets might not be moving up as much. But on the down days, it works in the other direction as well. Today is a good example. PDI is down 20%. But, pTGC is only down like 4% and UFO is only down like 10%. So you get the mean each direction. And that's the power of these index tokens is you're getting the mean every single day plus the amount of increase your own token is doing as well.
Right.
So if everything you're tied to, the mean based on their liquidity size is an increase of 5%, you're going to get that increase of 5%. And then whatever you do on top of that, so if you're doing extra 5% on top of that, you're doing a 10% that day.
Right. And to be fair, PDI was up against pTGC for, not including today, but for the previous 7 days. Up significantly, actually. And it's no surprise. It was doing very well, and it still is doing very well, in my opinion. But I think overall, pTGC is going to move. Even up to the pegging, I think pTGC is going to move up against PDI. Probably. I mean, if the trend continues, he's got 13 months of track record.
So back at the beginning of the conversation, Banana, you were talking about like your APY, your reflections that we've been getting recently. Have you checked out the new reflections tab on Kong's website or no?
Yes, I have. I've checked out every tab. I'm not super proficient at all of them, but I have looked at them. Is that I need to check and make sure that's one of the tabs that we can talk about.
I don't know if it is. We'd have to check with him, but he made a lot of additions to the reflections tab, and I just want to at least verbally go over what was added to that because it's super, super cool.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've dug into this. He probably has. I'm sure he's told you about it. But you now can put in your wallet address or any wallet address. It doesn't need to be yours. And it will tell you the APY that wallet address has been receiving.
Ooh.
And it will tell you the estimated yield per year that you would get in dollar value based on, all the current information. But what also he added to it is you can now manipulate the daily volume. So you can say, hey, I think in the future, like right now we have $1 million in volume, right? Let's say you think in the future as Pulse Chain becomes successful, this protocol will be at $5 million a day of average daily volume. You can manipulate that number, and then it will tell you what you would be receiving on a daily basis at that rate, on a monthly basis at that volume rate, and at a yearly basis. So you now are going to see, based on the volume, like you can shift it to that, and you can see what you would be receiving for your position size at that volume rate, like the yearly amount. But what's also cool is it will show you what all the other leagues are getting. So then, let's say you're a Dolphin and you've been really, and you kind of can see how much you're making. And you're like, well, gosh, I wanted to make a little bit more yearly off of this amount. Well, now you can see, okay, well, I need to multiply this by 2. I need to be 2 Dolphins. Or, gosh, I really want to be making what the Shark is. And then you can see what that's going to take to get you to that position to make the desired yearly APY that you're looking for, right?
Right.
It's super awesome. And it shows you it like the dollar values. Like if you're a month-to-month guy and you look at like how much you need to make month-to-month to pay your bills, not really a yearly guy, it also tells you your like monthly APY.
Yeah.
And it's estimated, obviously. And then like when you're playing with the volume, like obviously that's not what we're currently doing, but you can kind of make projections into the future if you're a very long-term person. Like if you think, okay, I think within like 4 months, this is what our daily volume is going to be based on the increase of Pulse Chain, etc. And you can really plan your future out accordingly.
Cool.
Hey, I am going to drop down real quick and I'm going to go on mute. And if you can keep going for me.
Oh, okay. Sure. Got it. All right, guys. So this is the site lookintoptgc.com. This is Kong's creation. And there is a subscription section. and you can find out, just go to the site and you can find out what the cost is. I don't know the cost off the top of my head, but it is a powerful tool, and we found it to be pretty, and he's pretty useful, and he's continually developing it. He's one of those guys that like goes to sleep and wakes up thinking data. So what I did is I went into, and I hope this, if he's watching, calm. I think this is one of the tabs that I can show. The staking tab, guys. If you ever wanted to see the locks and when everybody is, unlocking their locks, he's got it. It's on this site. I wanted that for the longest time. Why? Just to see it, honestly. But you guys got to get the subscription in order to see that one. So I put in Zen's address, the experimental address, and you guys can see my screen. Okay, this is the one that he has been. Let me make sure this is the correct one. 0B25. Give me a second, guys. I want to make sure I got the correct address. 0B25. And then hold on, guys. I want to take up all your time, but let me make sure I got the right one. Yeah, that's the correct one. Okay, cool. 0B25. That's and you guys can have this address. I should pop it in the chat. Good morning, good God. Good to have you in here. And Tails, Grandpa, Pulse. Good to have all y'all. There is Hayden's address, Zen's address for the experimental wallet, and that's public. And I did the calculations. Sea Creature League, it's not showing that. Looks like this wallet is as empty as my coffee. What? On Monday morning. Time to join. Time to join the pTGC family. Well, this is for UFO. That's right. This was a UFO experiment that he did. So look, this wallet is a shark. I love the moving shark, Kong. That is so cool. This wallet holds 0.122% of the supply. The projected APY is 8.9%. Daily yield, 17.8. Monthly yield, $534. Yearly, $6.5 thousand. You guys, I want to show my screen. Somebody said something.
Yeah, I was gonna say, are you sharing your screen? Because I'm on video. I'm not seeing it, brother.
Okay, sorry about that. So here's the shark position. And thank you for saying something, Hayden. $18 in yield, $534 in monthly yield, $6.5 thousand yearly. And that's at this.
I'm still not seeing it. Are you guys seeing it? If you're not seeing his screen with what he's trying to show, can you give me a bunch of emojis right now if you're not seeing it on video?
There was a mix-up. Just so you know, there was a mix-up on the video link. I started with a different link, and then I flipped over to a new one.
So I'm seeing a bunch of thumbs down. How do we see what you're showing? I want everybody to see this, man.
Sure.
Mando, I see it. You just have to click on his profile.
I did. I'm clicking on his profile. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Is the pink thing not on the top of your Twitter?
Okay, I see it now. Thank you.
Okay. All right. But a bunch of other people, it seems, have not seen it or are unable to see it right now. So let me get a link and I'll drop it on my Twitter. Get a shareable link. Okay, I'm going to drop this on my Twitter just to make sure that everybody has it, because I moved offices this week, and so I was a little out of my element. So bear with me 1 second. We'll get back to showing the yield calculator. There you go, guys. It's on my Twitter at Prairie Banana on Twitter. Okay, let's get back to this. Share my screen. Yeah, sorry about the mix-up, guys. I was live for like 7 minutes and nobody was showing up. That's when I realized there was a problem somewhere. So hopefully that fixes it. Cryptographics. Click harder. Funny. So the next tier for this wallet would be Whale. And that wallet will get there eventually. Let me back up a third time just for everybody that's jumped in. This is Zen's experimental wallet. And we're looking at it on lookintoptgc.com in the reflections section where you guys can put in your wallet address and it will show you your position, your share of the supply, projected APY, and yield broken down by daily, monthly, and yearly. And then the next tier, which is really cool to see, it's because I like to be goal oriented. He would need 8.16 billion UFO to be a whale. Interesting. And then the league tiers, I have not seen this update. So I'm seeing this for the first time. Sidon whale is 9.3, a shark. If you hold 930 million UFO, you are a shark. Very cool. Do you have any comments on this, Mando? Have you seen this as well? It's good stuff.
I got to play with it a little bit in the Alliance group with Kong. That was pretty cool, and he goes into deep detail about how it works. So
right
it was
on,
great.
Right on. That's cool. Yeah, he's such a nerd, and he's my friend, so he knows I'm joking. But we need nerds. I love this, man. This is so good. Okay, I'm going to paste my experimental wallet in, which has 1 million pTGC that I'm holding. Well, it's staked and locked for max 10 years, only 1 million. And when I started this, by the way, it was only worth like $30. Now it's worth $400 or $500, I think, for 1 million pTGC. So here goes this wallet, and it's a small sea creature. Look, it's a turtle. There's its share of supply, projected APY 2.8%. Daily yield 4 cents, monthly $1, yearly $13. Next tier would be a squid, and so on. And you can hide the tiers. Interesting, cool. All right. Does anybody have any comments or questions about that?
Were you going to show the staking ladders, or was that something you can't?
I can't show that. Yeah, that's.
Oh man, you're trying to.
We're trying to funnel. I'm trying to funnel people into purchasing the product. CryptoCon provides.
The best way to do that is to get them to FOMO to see the product. You got to let customers see the product. You got to let them see it, then they're going to want it more. Trust me.
Yeah, I agree to a certain extent. I don't have permission for that. Kong has worked so hard, and you guys want to, if you want access to his stuff, you're just going to have to pay him a modest fee. So I'm a capitalist, and I'm thankful. I'm happy for him to not only provide, to get paid for his efforts. I love it. Okay, man. Let's see. Landscraper has a comment. Didn't realize where rewards were getting that big. That, to be honest, I just blindly compound. Yeah. The rewards yesterday, like I was saying at the beginning of the stream, were the biggest I have seen yet. So good stuff.
It was a pretty good volume day, huh?
$2.5 million. I mean, it's 2.6 right now. So let's see if it's, and has anybody done any research on the supposed hex whale that got in this morning? I mean, there was some, I want to say it was a $33,000 UFO buy this morning and some other sizable pTGC buys. And people were saying it was a hex whale. So if anybody has done the research on that, come up and talk about it. I'm curious. I couldn't find the UFO buy index screener for whatever reason. It wasn't showing up. Mando?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay. Let's see. I'm not a co-host, so I don't know that I can select you guys if you have any comments. But let's go into my records. No, let's go back. Let's stay on Kong's site. Let me just go to the dashboard. So you don't need to pay for all of the for all the data that this site provides. There is limited information, but it's good. It is worth seeing. So, and this is one of the places I go daily to get information about pTGC and UFO. The dashboard. Look into ptgc.com dashboard. And it's actually the homepage. So, and we're going to talk about this. We're going to start with pTGC. Has burned 11.5% of its supply. Here is how much was burned in the last 15 minutes, 1 hour, and so on. What I really like is the information down here, the tax allocation. But let's talk about the market metrics. Here's the price, 24-hour volume, $994,000. Just a few weeks ago, it was like $15,000, $25,000. Not very impressive. But like I said last week, what we have been talking about, what Zen has been talking about, and Mando is becoming a reality. The liquidity is now $14 million. 24-hour transactions, a modest, may I say, 2,000 transactions in 24 hours with 1,027 buys and 963 sells. Here's the pTGC UFO ratio, 5.66. Circulating supply, 295 billion. Congratulations if you hold a billion of it.
Hey, Banana, just want to let you know I'm back.
Okay.
But keep going.
Okay. Thanks for letting me know. The tax allocation for the last 24 hours. We have burned $5,000 of pTGC. Who wouldn't like to just have $5,000 of pTGC put in their wallet, right? Well, we burned that. So everybody benefited because the supply was reduced. Everyone's position increased. We added $5,000 to liquidity. $19,900 was allocated to the Dow. $9,900 was paid to the holders, and $9,900 paid to the stakers. It's beautiful. So in summary, and I have that on my sheet, I have the ad. I think Kong, if you're watching, you should put it, a total right here. Or is there a total already? There should be a total somewhere of all 5 of these allocations. UFO. In total, we burned 7% of the supply. Yay, we're up to 7%. Beautiful. Metrics, the price is right here, 4064. The volume was $1.5 million. Liquidity is $23 million. And all of this has changed. I mean, for UFO and pTGC has changed a tremendous amount in just the last few weeks. I'm so excited. We're all so excited to see this. 1,400 transactions, 867 of those are buys, 570 of them are sells. There is the ratio, 0.81 pulse per UFO. And I think we're going to be 1-to-1. I mean, if we continue at this rate, we will be 1-to-1 with pulse. And we could be there by the close of the weekend. It could be a couple weeks. But if the trend continues, very soon. The circulating supply is 929 billion tokens. And here's the tax allocation. So with UFO, the contract sends 1% to the buy and burn, 1% to the holders, 1% to buy and burn pTGC, and 3% goes to the LP providers. So $44,000 was sent to reward LP providers, $15,000 bought and burned UFO, $15,000 bought and burned pTGC, and $15,000 went to rewarding holders. Let's compare how much UFO burned a pTGC at $15,000 versus how much pTGC burned. $5,000, so a triple. Yay, go UFO, burn pTGC. I love the kind of the competition that we have going between pTGC and UFO to see who can like burn more pTGC. It's pretty cool. And it makes me think like which one of these is going to, like, UFO is benefiting pTGC, but at what rate? You know, is it benefiting it so much more? I don't know. I'm having a hard time finding the words to describe how.
Well, absolutely, because of the size of the web. There's no question about it.
Sure. Okay, go ahead.
That I know you went over this, but pTGC had $25,000 burned of itself in the last 24 hours. That's not a small amount, but it's funny because it kind of is a small amount if you consider that pulse chain is still below sac rate.
Yeah.
If the machine is operating at this level below sac rate, where does it operate 10 times sac rate? It's going to be really interesting to see.
Yeah. We burned 1.9 dolphins of pTGC in the last 24 hours. And I think almost 2 dolphins of UFO. Yeah, 1.8 dolphins of UFO in the last 24 hours also.
Yeah, the beautiful thing is with PDI and Teddy and the Atropos system doing what it's been doing with the paganting of PDI narrative, we don't just get the X multiplier reflexivity in the pools. We don't just get that uptrend on price. But when people decide to take profits and it comes back down, all the pools have to be rebalanced over and over again on the way up and on the way down. And so this is the system that actually gets to generate massive amounts of revenue and bring it back to the holders during that perpetual process.
Who wants to explain to Ven, who is new here but has been holding a bag, what are the benefits of staking? They're very excited. I mean, I can just start it out. I mean, you will earn more APY by staking, but there's a cost. When you want to end your stake, you pay 1% to end your stake. So you just got a ROI. Once you broke even, then it's all gravy, and you're earning 1% more.
I've got a comment on that.
Go for it.
I think staking is kind of an unknown feature for many of the holders. I watch my rewards come in every day, and it's 2.5 to 3 times on the staking side than it is on the holding side, which tells me that a whole lot of people bought it, but they don't stake it, or they don't know how to stake it, or they're afraid of staking. So if you want to supercharge your rewards, stake it. It's a no-brainer.
Like yesterday, for example, the staking. Well, hold up. The staking APY was 4.24%. The holding APY was 1.88%. So a double plus, and that's the trend, and we see that quite often. The stakers are earning quite a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, the percentage coming out to the people are the same, but because not as many people are staking, those stakers get a bigger reward. So if you really want to compound your position, you got to stake. You're giving up too much money to the people who know how to click the button and wait 10 seconds for a transaction to go through. That's all you're giving up. You should click a button to lose 2.5 times or 3 times more in rewards. It's silly, but there's a ton of people out there who don't understand what we have. So they buy it and they see the coins go up and they go, oh, cool, that's cool. But they don't know to go to the next step. So maybe I shouldn't tell anyone about it. Maybe I should just keep it to myself. But there's a small group here, guys, get in on it, stake your stuff.
make the money.
To me, it makes sense if you're planning to be in here long term, which I do. So all of mine is staked, except for what I'm earning and what I've earned in yield.
Banana. Also, you're going over the reflections on the look into pTGC or look into pTGC Kong site. Just so everyone knows, I don't believe that tab includes staking rewards. And I think we're working on getting it added. I'm going to have to check with him. So the APY that you were saying was just for holding. And what Blackthorn was just saying is, I believe for staking, you're going to be earning 150% more roughly, because not everyone is staked and there's twice as many rewards getting distributed. So you would like almost need to multiply what you're getting like almost by 3 or something like that. But we're working on getting that added. But that's one thing to keep in mind, Banana, when you're calculating that there is it's not calculating the staking rewards as well.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because it would be more like on the order of 6%, whereas right here it's 2.8%.
Yeah, probably even maybe a little bit more than 6%, maybe closer to the 7 or maybe 6.5. But yeah.
Sure. And then just keep in mind, guys, that as the volume increases, that APY will increase too.
Yeah, did you? I don't know if we're allowed to, Banana, but did you play with the toggle where you can adjust the volume to what we could project the volume might be in the future, or no?
I don't. Is that in the reflection analytics section?
Yeah. So you go to the reflections tab, and then it says experimental mode, and there's a toggle.
Oh. Okay. Yeah.
So toggle that over.
Yes.
And then you can move that chart to where you project the volume might be in the future as far as like average volume per day. I think it might be auto set to 5 mil when you hop on there.
Yes, 5 mil.
That would be less than like, that's pretty much a 5x for pTGC and less than a 5x for UFO. But you can say calculate, and then that will tell you what your estimated APY will be off of that increase in volume.
Wow. This is next level, man.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy because now we can take educated guesses on where this could be in the future.
Yeah.
Here, 1 second, guys.
Sure.
You keep going for a minute.
Sure. I mean, I've known Kong for a while, and I've known he had skills, but I didn't know he had skills at this level. This is very cool. So go ahead.
I've got an idea for Kong, and I don't know if it's possible. I just was thinking about it this morning. Is there a way to figure out how many of the transactions are done by bots, price fixer bots, compared to just humans buying and selling? So we can say, hey, of this, $1 million of transactions this today, 700,000 was price fixing bots. I don't know how to do that. I'm just thinking that would be a cool metric if he could figure that out, like maybe, figure out who the address wallets are, whitelist them, and then separate their volume. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. But it'd be a cool metric if we could do it.
Oh, absolutely.
It's possible to do that, though.
Yeah, that's all. That's what I've heard. That'd be very difficult.
Like, I would just say it's probably 70 to 80% are bots, is my guess.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot.
Yeah, that's my guess too.
It's going to be an absolute ton more, just by the nature of, the fluidity of the liquidity, right? So there's constant need for rebalancing of the pools. And then all human buys are analog. So.
Yeah.
The river flow is perfect, though. The river flow is perfect and beautiful.
For Ben, he wants to know how to stake. I'm going to show you real quick, Ben, on YouTube. You connect your wallet and then click on, where's my staking button? I guess I need to connect my wallet. Stake TGC right there. And you stake it. It's very simple. And you have an option of staking portions of it, or you can just type in however much you want to stake. And if you want to lock it, it must be staked before you lock. And I always recommend before you lock, do your own research. Sleep on it a couple days, give yourself a week if it takes. I mean, we don't have a ton of unlocks. They happen very randomly, so you're not going to miss much if you're not locked for a week. But proceed very deliberately. That's my advice.
One thing to think about, Prairie, to talk about, we were talking a while about, as price goes up, some people in the past were, ending their locks early, right?
Yeah.
But since it's crested over like an $80 million market cap, $100 million market cap, we're not seeing that happening anymore, which is indicative of a reality that there's a shift that people have become much more educated as to what this is, and they're not willing to take the profits.
Not yet. I agree with you. Yes. Not yet. I mean, the smart money knows where we are in the cycle, and they're not ready to take profit yet. So there you have it, Ben. Coach, are you at your computer that you can do some research on or maybe even Shaka, some research on the big purchases that came in this morning?
I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, just give me a couple of minutes.
Okay. I heard it was a hex whale, so we just got to pop his address.
Yeah, I know a little bit about it. I think a hex whale brought in pretty much $100,000 worth of buy pressure to both pTGC and UFO this morning. And also last night, a hex whale brought in around $100,000 worth of buys to pTGC and UFO.
The same guy, or was it separate?
Same guy.
Nice. Well, hopefully he's well connected and likes to talk.
Yeah, the thing that I like to see is it looks like he really understands the long game and APY versus the long term. When we're looking at his average stake length, it was around 12 years.
Beautiful.
For his T shares. So when I see someone like that, they have a really long game and they appreciate the longevity game and projects and the sustainability of projects, and obviously likes that with Hex. So when I see that we're onboarding people like that to this ecosystem, that's like the users that, in my opinion, are what this protocol is built around.
Yeah. And
where we are currently. So I'm just super excited to see that someone who sees the value in Hex in that same light can see some of the similarities, even though they're completely two different products. But they do have a few similarities, and I think the store of value side of it is pretty similar.
Mm-hmm.
And he's obviously seeing value in it because he's bringing the guns to get his positions in.
What was the on-chain activity then?
It looked like he had a stake that ended, and he took a little portion of that stake that ended and bought pTGC and UFO and then restaked the rest.
That's a good hexagon right there.
Good hexagon.
Yes.
I love that guy.
Yeah. So probably got some yield out of it, right? Like it's a pretty large position, so he probably took some of the yield he got and used that yield to get pTGC or UFO, if I had to guess, probably not even all of it, and then just restaked the rest, just kept earning on his T shares.
Very smart.
Yeah, we like guys like that. People like that are long-term holders, and there are many of them in this ecosystem, add stability to the system, to the price. And that's great. But we also invite people to come in and trade, because that adds an element of volatility, which gives rewards to the holders. So We actually benefit from both spectrums.
There's a lot of different type of people in crypto, right?
Yes.
Like a lot of people some people are just looking for a 2x and they move on. With this system, at least the system gets stronger in that scenario where most protocols don't get stronger at all. They get weaker because the people that are making 2x are taking from the people who aren't making any x's. And that's the only way people can be up. But since we generate outside value and bring it in, even though that person made 2x, it didn't have to come from another user. It came from the utility of the protocol. And he had to pay the system on the way in, and he had to pay the system on the way out. There's a place for those. There's some people that look for a little bit more longer. Maybe they're looking for the 5, 10x. And then there's the people who don't even care about the x's, and they look at, okay, if this protocol does 100x, well, now I have 100 times the amount of value working for me. And now I'm making APY on 100x what my initial purchase was. No, this is just the holding report, so we would have to multiply it pretty much by like 3.
Sorry, guys.
So I'm going to just take this random holder.
So it doesn't have the ability to give you a true benchmark on pTGC because of the 2 different indicators?
Yeah, I think we're working on getting the staking added to where it will tell you both, just holding and staking and hold it. It's just not implicated yet. So 1 second. So right now I'm at 10 million in volume. A whale yearly APY would be 371K. A shark is 37K. So it's the same thing ultimately, which makes sense. because it's all volume based. So if you have the whale position and then you're doing the same volume, it's 1% still, right? But the interesting thing about pTGC is if you're staked, you would be getting 2 times that, right? Actually more than 2 times it, because not everyone is staked.
Mm-hmm. Do you know if this calculator takes into account the fact that, you know, as price increases, the yield will increase?
Well, this isn't exactly true. It mathematically is true, but the volume increases because the liquidity pools have become bigger. But since it's everything in volume is in dollar terms, so that's why we're looking at this in dollar terms.
Okay.
Technically, you will be receiving less tokens.
Yep.
Because the tokens are now worth more. But in dollar form, you will be receiving more money, usually, right?
Right. Okay. All right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because in the calculation of volume, the average of any protocol is the dollar form, right? Like that's how it's the equal comparison with any protocol. You can calculate volume in dollar, and that dollar stays stagnant. So it's an easy metric to calculate with. You don't calculate volume in like quantity of tokens, even though we're paid out in quantity of tokens. So what we're doing here is, you know, looking at what those quantity of tokens would be worth in dollar form.
Okay. Yeah, I'm hoping that he needs to add another tab there above the 50 million.
If we can get over 50 million in volume a day.
Yeah, you know, even if it's just a day.
Yeah, well, like for an example, with 50 million, this is just holding, but a whale would be receiving $1.86 million a year in APY. And that's not from price appreciation. That's like one thing a lot of people don't realize is like a lot of APYs in this world are paid out by the price appreciation. But what this is paid out in additional quantities of tokens into your wallet. So you're also going to take advantage of the price appreciation at the same time.
Right.
This reminds me of going back into the old Hex days. You know, when we did have the look into Hex, and we were just geeking out on just every damn little metric.
Yes.
It's actually very fun.
It is. It's very fun. I was waiting for somebody to come and build tools like this, because I don't have the time or the skills.
Yeah, the thing is that's why, like, as our LP increases and as the protocol becomes successful and as our volume increases, what that does for our users is that kind of sets them financially free in a way that they don't need to actually tap into their initial purchases, right? Mm-hmm. Like if the APY becomes big enough to where users can take advantage of the protocol with just the APY that's paid out in real value being generated, then they don't have to touch their initials. And when they don't touch their initials, they obviously now are going to get all the X's throughout the many years that this protocol survives and lasts as long as Pulse Chain. And we go back to like the early days of Hex or Bitcoin, like the people who sold on the 20X got wrecked. So you want to stay in the system. It wasn't about how early you got in, it was about how long you held. And I still believe this with Hex. Like I believe Hex will make all-time highs, and the people who bought the dip obviously would benefit. The people who hold long-term, even though it was a hard 4 years, I think they're going to make out good in the end. So the system can actually incentivize you to stay within the system and keep your initials, but still give you completely free APY. The APY is not locked. You can claim it once a month and pay bills, whatever. But also the supply is decreasing. So your initial that you purchased is actually getting more percentage of the yield with every single transaction because there's less circulating supply with every transaction. And then on top of that, it's going to be increasing in value. So that's nice. And that's not even incorporated into this metric, right? And the more that becomes, the more value is actually working for the system, increasing your APY as well, which is a benefit. And you're now holding up the price of the whole entire system, making it more attractive for new users to come in and play as well. If new users see, or users coming into Pulse-Chain see this chart that's just going up and to the right, up and to the right, up and to the right, because all of the long-term holders see the value in the system and they're not getting rid of their initial purchases, well, that becomes very inviting for users because they're like, ooh, this is a community that understands the product they have, they believe in the product they have, and they're creating a safe environment for me to also play in as well. This could be a small fish or possibly a whale kind of lurking on the sidelines, looking for a place to put a large lump sum of money to earn trustless APY on a deflationary token with $40 million of liquidity within its web. Like, it becomes very attractive to these people, but it won't be attractive to them if the system isn't sustainable. And what I think we're doing here as a community is creating a very sustainable system, and it becomes inviting over time.
Agreed. Do you want to go over some of the Twitter posts?
Yeah, let's go into that.
Okay. Should I be going to the gray 369, or I think there is another one, Pulse TGC? Which one should I get to?
You could go to either. You could go to both.
Okay.
I'd say you could go to both and just kind of skim. Some of them are like somewhat not as interesting posts, and then some of them are interesting. So maybe if any catches your eye, just read that one.
Okay. This is one from 20 hours ago. The Pulse Chain Index tokens, pTGC and UFO. The easy buttons, I'll add. The easy button to the Pulse network. Overview. Commodity index comparison. And if you want to interrupt, just interrupt me. If you don't think they're worth reading, that's fine. Just let me know. Commodity, and I'll try to keep it brief. Commodity indexes track the price of baskets of commodities like gold, oil, or agricultural products, providing a broad measure of commodity market performance. Pulse Chain Liquidity Web. pTGC and UFO are integrated into a liquidity web on Pulse Chain involving major tokens with a total liquidity pool of approximately $40 million, including Pulse, PulseX, Hex, Atropa, Bear, Inc., PDI, PWBTC, etc. Benefits of holding. Token appreciation. Holders benefit from the price increase of the tokens themselves. Index effect. Similar to a commodity index, holders gain from the collective performance of the connected tokens through bonded liquidity, offering exposure to a diversified set of digital assets. Decentralized index. These tokens function akin to commodity indexes that are tailored for the crypto ecosystem, focusing on volatile and potentially undervalued crypto projects. Let's see, diversification and utility. pTGC and UFO provide diversification, access to a range of Pulse Chain's leading tokens, deflationary mechanics. Mechanisms like token burning can potentially increase value over time. APY from DeFi, opportunity to earn yield from decentralized finance activities linked with these tokens. Innovation in DeFi, DeFi 3.0. These tokens signify an advancement in DeFi by integrating diversification, deflationary economics, and yield within their tokenomics. This setup enables holders to own a diversified portfolio of Pulse Chain's premier assets, possibly streamlining appreciation while tapping into the network's DeFi opportunities for growth and returns. This is not financial advice, and this above overview is only to show similarities in the products. It's a great post. I read that one, and it's probably bookmarked in my Twitter. It's a good one. There was a gratitude to the Grays family on Thanksgiving Day. Agreed. We're all in this together. Current LP web of UFO and pTGC is $35 million. I think it's $42 million now. And combined volume was over $1 million in the last 24 hours. Actually, right now, it's $2.5 million in the last 24 hours. And the kicker is Pulse is still below stack price. This is only the beginning. On November 27th, RH is talking about one of the strongest features of Hex in this clip. Take a listen. Also, please read the post below. Do you remember what the clip was?
Yeah, in short, it was talking about how with Hex, you have to use your Hex and stake your Hex to earn more Hex. And by doing so, you're increasing the price of Hex by minting yourself the portion of the inflation. And that's how the inflation is paid out, to where the comparison of Bitcoin is someone who's mining Bitcoin actually doesn't have to help the price of Bitcoin at all. They don't need to own any Bitcoin to mine Bitcoin. They actually have to put their money towards mining hardware, and mining hardware actually doesn't increase the price of Bitcoin as well. And then when they do mint the Bitcoin or mine the Bitcoin, they have to sell down the Bitcoin to pay for all that mining hardware and stuff like that. Where RH obviously solved this problem is he made it to where the only way you can actually mint or mine Hex is by owning Hex and then staking it. So you have to appreciate the price and then become a long-term holder of Hex to get more of it. So you have to help the value of Hex to get more of the value of Hex. It's just brilliant, and obviously that's what he's talking about there. And we've included some of these same ideas within the design of pTGC and UFO. The only way to get pTGC and UFO is by owning it. If you want more percentage of the APY, you have to earn more of it, which then increases the price and puts that value working for the system, increasing it for the entire system as well.
Beautiful. Just so you know, we got over 250 viewers on YouTube and probably, several dozen on Twitter. So thank you, everybody, for being here. We really appreciate your presence. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. What else? Charles, do your own research, says pTGC has eclipsed every other investment I've ever made: stocks, mutual funds, bonds, crypto, with the exception of my home, which I've owned for 24 years, and we're just getting started. Amazing. Here's a question from Red Bull Vodka. That sounds very dangerous. I have an LP position in UFO and PulseX. Is it better to stake pTGC instead? I think you're a little confused, perhaps, because you got two different assets here. I think you're talking about flipping from UFO into TGC, and I'm not going to. I wouldn't do that. That's not what I would do. And because you have an LP position, you might consider just leaving it there, because you have UFO shares that might become more difficult to get back in the future. So I think it would be better, in my opinion, to bring fiat in and buy pTGC and then stake. Hayden, Zen, do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, depending on when you created your UFO LP, the people who created early day UFO LPs obviously locked in early UFO share rates, and those UFO share rates are starting to become worth a decent amount due to impermanent loss, but your UFO share rates don't hit impermanent loss. So you might want to consider staying in the system if you do have a locked-in early UFO share rate. But yeah, I try to not guide people to either one or the other. I just say they're just two different products. They use the same LP web technology, but then are two completely different products built on top of the LP web technology. So you kind of need to study both protocol and figure out if one fits you better than the other. And if you can't make up your minds, then maybe you just want to grab 50-50 or something like that.
Zen, if you can, and this may be a conversation for larger players in the system or on chain, but if they did buy UFO, right, early on, for example, and they didn't lock in shares, but let's say they did have a big bag of pDI. If they didn't lock in shares down at the bottom, and pDI has been going up at a pretty good pace with UFO, for example, that individual, even though the share rate did get locked at the bottom, when they lock in that share rate, as long as pDI ran up pretty close to UFO, you'd be similar. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, well, Prairie has like this exact wallet, right? And Prairie added UFO with pDI in the early days. I think he said he got in week 1 and maybe day 2 or something like that. And for the first, what would it be, like 5 months, UFO was outperforming pDI drastically. So Banana was ending up with a lot of pDI and not a lot of UFO because of impermanent loss. But then, like, the ebbs and flows of just how these markets work, pDI got all this attraction with the narrative, and, you know, it's gotten a lot of hype on Twitter recently and just between Pulse and influencers. So now his pool is actually rebalancing itself. So now the pDI was outperforming UFO for a little bit, not today, but, you know, the last week or two. And it was giving him back his UFO and taking the pDI that he recently got impermanent loss with, making it to where he actually didn't incur as much impermanent loss than he did weeks prior. And that's why it's called impermanent loss. It's not permanent. You just have to stay within the system, and sometimes it rebalances itself back out, which it did for Banana in this case. And he has a more even amount of pDI to UFO ratio that he started with.
How close, if I'm a whale, for example, in pDI and UFO, right? This is just an example. And how close is that ratio if you're saying, hey, maybe I do want to jump into that farm? It's looking like those ratios have closed in and come real close, Prairie. How close is that ratio for kind of hitting parity from where it started?
You mean the LP in that wallet that I have with 1 million UFO?
Like it shifted and then it's come back down. Like how close is it at this point?
I was just looking at it in the wallet itself. So I started with. Sorry, let me back up. 1 million. Yeah, I had 1 million UFO. I paired it with Pulse actually. Right now, there's two.
Well, then that's not going to
No.
Okay.
We're talking about pDI specifically.
Oh, okay.
Did you have a pDI pool, Banana, or no?
I do in my personal wallets, yes.
We don't need exact numbers or anything like that. You could.
Okay.
But and you might not want to pull those up right now, actually. What he was asking is, for an example, let's say you started with 1 million pDI, and then like 2 weeks ago, you possibly could have had like 3 million pDI due to impermanent loss because your UFO would be leaving your wallet and pDI would be coming in, not your wallet, but your share of the PLP token, of that pool, what percentage you would receive is. But now that pDI went on that little run, your percentage would be giving up your pDI and you'd be getting UFO back. What he was kind of asking is it close to that 1 million mark, like that you started with?
In other words, because there's a metric there for people who may be looking for an entry into a UFO farm, where they would say, now's the time to go in on that. Because they've come into equilibrium, right? That impermanent loss came back down to an equilibrium or near it. And so you're looking for entry points into a farm to lock in the most amount of shares based on those two tickers coming together.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have that information in front of me, guys.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just, the only reason why I asked, because you said you had an exact wallet like that, and to know where that is now would have been interesting.
I mean,
if I had to guess, I would say he probably has a little bit of impermanent loss still, due to he would probably has more PDI than he went in with, but it's definitely not anywhere close to how bad it was 3 weeks ago. Right.
Okay, so I can go from memory, because I have in a wallet, I have it would be about 333 PDI that I paired with UFO. I don't know what I paired in UFO at the time, but I know that the PDI was about 333,000 PDI. And it's now in that LP, there is now 670,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a 50%. That's a 50% still on equilibrium on that IM.
Yeah, he still has twice as many PDI.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much what we're looking for, Banana. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay. Right on. Well,
yeah. So one thing I have noticed is I believe the UFO LP rewards have been somewhat similar to just the holding rewards. In the early days, the LPing rewards were a lot more because we're locking in earlier UFO share rates, but they've kind of evened themselves out a little bit. So if you don't like impermanent loss, I would say that it's probably good to just hold currently and really study up on the farms, and if you're fine with impermanent loss, and if you're a long-term kind of person, or if you're using it as an exit strategy or whatever, because when you're just holding UFO, you're still earning APY. And a lot of people have actually said that they wish they didn't even go into the farms because of the impermanent loss. Because when UFO is up 50x from when they created these farms, and that pair that you're talking about, Banana, is the PDI pair, and obviously PDI went on a run. But if you're in a PLS pair, where PLS hasn't really moved up much at all, you would be in tons of impermanent loss in that pair.
Okay.
And what I'm getting at is, if you're in a protocol that's going to do a bunch of X's, the X's seem to always outweigh the APY, because like we're talking about, like if you're earning a 10% APY, well, you just need a 2X to do 10 times that. The APY is the cherry on top. The real value growth is in the X's.
Right. And people are earning a lot just for holding a UFO. They're earning more reflections because so many other people are pairing with other tokens and doing the LP route.
Yeah, you're earning on everyone else who's providing the LP is really the truth. And then you're also making X's on the APY you're earning, because you're earning that APY in UFO itself. Obviously, when you're providing LP, you're earning PLS. You can swap that into whatever, right? You can swap that right into UFO. You can swap that right into PDI. You can swap that right into pTGC. You can swap it into anything. You could do this with UFO as well. But what I'm getting at is, if you just held your PLS hasn't done a ton of X's.
Right.
So you didn't make as many X's on your APY as well. You know, my example is let's say day one, if you were earning, or day two or whatever, just for holding Banana, you were earning a 10% APY number. But now those tokens are up 50x from there. You're now we're earning in those early days in form like a 500% APY number, because you just did all those X's.
Yeah.
Because your APY is doing X's as well. So the early days, the early days, and it's still early in my opinion. This is the funny part. We're talking about early days, but it's still early in the whole grand scheme of things of what Pulse Chain is going to be. Like, these are still the early days, but your APY does X's as well.
Yeah. I'm taking notes. That's a good point. I love that. I'm going to use that.
Oh, it's huge. Like, even these numbers right now, if we do another 50x from here, if you're earning 10% today, that's technically 500% if we go 50x into the future, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Who has a question?
Yeah, we don't have anyone raising their hand right now.
Okay. Let's go over some of the data that I've been keeping. And I'll have a summary for us for the month of November on Monday's space. But I'll need tomorrow to get it all together. But what we'll do right now is just go over some of the developments over the last week or so. The pulse chain volume is the highest I've ever seen since I've been recording it. Yesterday, it was let's call it $120 million. And I've been tracking it for just a few months, but that's the highest I've seen. We gained
there, Banana, real quick.
Go ahead, please.
So I think it was a month or two ago, we overlaid the pTGC and UFO chart on the liquidity and volume charts that we found on PulseX.
Yes.
And we were showing users, I think we even talked about in these spaces, that the pTGC and UFO, since they're volatility, liquidity, and volume-based protocols, we are actually directly related to that chart on PulseX and Pulse Chain in general. So as liquidity and volume increase on the network, not even on us, naturally we increase in volume and volatility. And then in turn, what that does is it increases the price of these tokens. And this was like, hey, we're looking at past performance. It seems to be directly related. It is directly related. So when the volume and volatility pick up on chain, our prices are going to increase dramatically. This is months ago, so before these prices, look what happens. As soon as the volume and volatility increased on chain, our prices increased dramatically.
Right.
It's nice to see everything that we're predicting based on past performance coming true, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the interesting thing about this, what you said is, and everybody in here can verify this, as we've been sharing the data that's coming in and just kind of making our educated speculations on it, I don't know of one thing that we've kind of said, this is what we look like it's going to happen, and it actually hasn't worked out that way yet. Right? Because it's actually not hard to see what's happening because it keeps being confirmed in the math over and over and over and over and over again. You know, so it's very like for example, we said there's going to be a massive revaluation in the LPs. Well, what happened? Right? That massive revaluation brings in, look at how much more volume in terms of the volume, and look at how much more revenue that's bringing in. Now look at how much more burns and APY that's bringing in. So it's just been phenomenal in terms of being able to pull all this data.
Yep. Well, let's talk about the data that I've been getting. So in October, we averaged 27 new users per day. Well, just in the past week, we have averaged 54, a double. That's exciting because we need users. Well, we don't need users for the system to work, but we love people. We love our friends and our family to get on board and participate with us. The ratio in the last week went from 4.9 to 5. It actually peaked out at 5.9. So we should be at 6 very soon. Market cap, I don't know what it is in total, but I have $126 million. And this is all pTGC. Let's scroll over here and we'll get a little more combined data. Daily tokens burned yesterday was 55 million tokens, or 1.9 dolphins. The combined LP is $37 million between pTGC and UFO. The tax revenue yesterday, we already talked about it, but it was $46,000 for pTGC, $89,000 for UFO, for a combined $135,000. And that is it for pTGC. There is a question on YouTube. Does someone have a comment?
I was just going to say, as far as a value generating system, $130,000 in 24 hours isn't that.
Yeah.
Yep. Especially below SAC rate of PLS.
Yeah. Agreed. Let's have a look at what the APY was for pTGC. We already talked about it, but we can talk about pTGC and UFO. So the staking APY was 4.25%. Holding APY, let's just call that 2%. And then for UFO, the LP APY was 22%. And the reflections APY was 10%. I always find that insightful.
Yeah, and that's just on the last 24 hours of data, right, for both those?
Yes.
So if I understood you correct, pTGC, if you're holding and staking, it was like 7% when you add the two up?
6.1.
Oh, 6.1. Okay, so 6.1 for holding and staking in pTGC, and then for UFO, just for holding, it was around 10%, and if you're LP providing, it was around 20%.
21.7.
Okay, cool. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's cool to have those numbers.
Yeah, obviously, everyone listening, that's just based on the last 24 hours in volume. You know, it's been a good 24 hours for volume. Obviously, the goal is for the LPs to keep growing and keep increasing that, but some days will not have that much volume. So,
yes,
you have to take that information. But
Hayden, what would you say in the last 48 hours or so? This has been wrong.
You broke
million.
Can you say that again? You're breaking up for me. I don't know if that was for anyone else.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Pulse chain that this is bringing in the last 48 hours.
Can you repeat the whole sentence? Sorry, Mando, you're breaking up for me.
I think he's asking about pulse chain volume for the last 48 hours.
I don't know pulse chain's volume, but I know it's somewhere like on Go Pulse. I don't think that was his question.
Okay.
I don't think he would ask.
If it is, I have it.
I think it was something pTGC and UFO related.
Okay. AS asks, wondered if our liquidity growth to $30 to $50 million would suppress the price. I know we've addressed this before. I don't remember the details.
Yeah, so obviously as our liquidity grows, it makes it to where a single buy or a single sell can't impact the chart as much. But at this point, our LP is working for our system, and this isn't relevant for most other tokens, right? Like the LP that's there isn't working for the system. That LP is just there for people to come in and come out. It's not generating any value to the system. So me and Banana were just talking about like the LP web that's created here. Yes, it is large. It makes it harder for, a $5,000 buy to pump the chart up or pump the chart down. But what it does is that web actually generated over $130,000 of value for the system from outside sources yesterday. See, that's the trick of it, is That's a lot of value generated, and that's still below pulse. And what we've actually seen for the price of pTGC and UFO, and I'm pretty sure everyone can agree, we haven't had an issue with price appreciation. We are pretty much one of the top performers on the chain. So even though our LP is so large, it actually isn't holding us back. So we're able to give good price appreciation, but more importantly, there's actually value there to back the price appreciation. Because a lot of users do like, ooh, low liquidity, good price appreciation. But I'm sorry to break it to you, that user is usually never the one that gets that price appreciation. There's usually 1 out of 100 guys that actually gets to make those gains, because it's constantly a robbing Peter to pay Paul effect. But with this system, it's actually value being generated, and there's actual value there to back the system. And we don't only do the X's that we do the X's that everything we're connected to does as well. And you have to look at all of the angles. And that's one of the things that a lot of people haven't been doing, is they still are looking at this protocol like it's a standard protocol or a standard token out there. And we've explained this multiple times. This isn't a standard protocol. This isn't a standard token where you can just use normal TA or just look at the standard liquidity size and say, ooh, that has a lot of liquidity, it's hard to pump. We are operating in DeFi 3.0. It's a completely different level of tokenomics and mechanics and systems put in play. So you can't compare this orange to an apple to something else, because it's just a completely different system.
Mm-hmm. I like that term, DeFi 3.0. I see Nick in the chat. Do you perhaps want to come up and say a few words? He might be busy.
Yeah, that's all good. I think we've probably hit a good stopping point if no one has anything else to say or doesn't want to bring up anything else.
Come on, guys.
What's up, Nick? How you doing?
Pretty good. Just chilling, getting some stuff done. Was listening to you guys on in the background, but yeah, I mean, things continue to ramp up here, and it's nice to see. I think that the doubling of the user acquisition for Pulse Chain is a big indicator for things to come, and actually, obviously boosts everything on chain, and specifically pTGC and what you guys have created here, because you guys have already touched base on it a lot. Price appreciation of the blue chips drives pTGC higher. The volume appreciation speeds up the buybacks and burns, which creates faster deflationary metrics on pTGC. And then more user acquisition means there could be more holders and speculators on the token itself, which of course drives distribution numbers and price appreciation. So everything looks good. I mean, what's awesome is super early to pTGC and UFO and the other amplifiers and what's going on there. And it's nice that the speculation of what we thought would happen with the way that everything was set up is what is actually happening now that Pulse Chain is starting to expand. And I think that's really just the start here, and there's a lot of upside potential on Pulse Chain. And I still stick by saying that I think pTGC, UFO, and the amplifiers will continue to outperform the blue chips on all of these moments of volatility, user acquisition, and volume prices.
Yeah, thank you so much for saying that, Nick. The system is like 100% complete upon launch, right? But then there's like mechanics that function better as time goes on, like as the blockchain gets adoption, as LP grows, etc. And it's not a lot in crypto where people say like, hey, we believe this will happen in the future, and it actually happens. It's kind of funny, like in crypto, it's like 99% of the time it doesn't happen. And that's just the sad truth of this industry. But it's good to see with this system is everything that we mathematically and mechanically planned out is firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, and that's happening here, pre-SEC dropping their case against Richard Hart, the gatekeepers opening up for Pulse Chain and all the other blue chips. We're starting to see some assets finally getting on CoinGecko that are Pulse Chain assets. But even in my private group, I've been talking about pTGC now for over a year, and Alien for a year, and UFO since launch. And there's still people that are like, oh, I missed those, so what should I do now? They still haven't bridged funds over, and they're now getting interested. Why? Because people get FOMO when they see green bars, or when they have people like me who are posting every couple days, hey, new all-time high for pTGC, or a new move for this, or capitalize on our passive income on that. And eventually people are slowly making their way over. And I think those user acquisition numbers prove that. And when that happens, it's going to be massive potential for Pulse Chain, everybody who's believers, whether in the blue chips or Hex or pTGC or whatever. I think there's going to be a lot of winners over here in Pulse Chain, and they're really going to kind of run the cycle for this bull market, in my opinion.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for saying all that.
I dropped Nick Hellman's Twitter in the chat on YouTube, so go follow him on Twitter.
I think he also has a YouTube too.
Okay, we'll drop that in there too.
Yeah. So earlier I was in a bad area, but I was speaking about the amount of revenue. You keep talking about the dollar amount of revenue that's being generated, but I'd like to talk about the Pulse Chain amount of revenue that's being generated, because to me, that's what matters, right? So I think in the last 48 hours, we were talking over the last 2 days, as proposals were coming in, over 400 million Pulse Chain came in. It's probably close to $500 million in the last 48 hours that have come in for pTGC alone.
Yeah, well,
in Pulse Chain.
In that contract, in the Dow contract, I think there is 1.1 billion Pulse Chain ready to go in the next 7 days.
And what's crazy about that is I know in the first run up of pTGC, there was like a big celebration when the Dow, got its first billion of PLS that was ready for deployment to LP and Burns, and now it's reaccumulated that rapidly as we're seeing, price appreciation, volume appreciation, and user appreciation. So the numbers that we used to celebrate are now almost mundane, or we're getting them so rapidly due to the mechanics of pTGC and its whole ecosystem, which is really awesome to see that development.
So when you're talking about, we're legitimately looking at a tipping point of harvesting 1 billion Pulse Chain per day. That's astronomical.
Nick, what's your YouTube channel?
It is, if you type in Wyckoff Learn Crypto, that will pop up. It's kind of a co-branded YouTube channel with Wyckoff SMI, which is a trading platform, trading technique, and then Learn Crypto itself.
Wyckoff Learn what now?
Learn Crypto, and then Wyckoff, WYCKOFF.
Okay. Thank you.
I appreciate you sharing that.
Absolutely.
So it's probably about time to have one of you guys on, or Mando on, or Coach X on again for do a recording, and I can get that on my personal channels, on the Learn Crypto channel, but I can also get Crypto Paradise to post that as well. We did a Spaces with Good the other day talking about Pulse Chain and PDI and all that speculation, but it'd be nice to get a fresh update on pTGC since the numbers that we're talking about are so much bigger. So whoever wants to do that, DM me, let me know, and we'll get a recording and get it edited and shared across some platforms for sure.
Thanks, Nate. Nothing but good vibes in the Grace currency ecosystem. That's the thing I love the most about this ecosystem is there's all kinds of hexagons, there's pulsicons, there's hex maxis up in here, there's people coming cross chain. It's just good vibes.
It boils down to one thing. The community is a reflection of the founder. Okay, I'm dropping the YouTube channel in the chat. There you go, guys. Go follow go sub to him on YouTube. Nick. He's obviously a fast talker, which is great. Well, Zen, what do you think, man? Has it been a day?
Yeah, I think it's good. Sorry, one of my guys had some questions for me, so I missed a little bit. But yeah, I think it's been a good space. We're coming up on 2 hours now. I think one thing I did hear Mando was talking about how everyone's been having good spirits and good energy. I just want to remind everyone that it's super important to be respectful to everyone and show respect to their position in pTGC and also show respect to whatever other positions they hold. It's not, in my opinion, it's not good to talk down on any other project. It's just keep the education about pTGC and UFO. We don't need to bring any different light to anything else. If good light or bad light, it doesn't really matter. Just stick pTGC and UFO, be kind to others. When you're on Twitter or X or Telegrams, you want to build the bridge with these people. You don't want to be burning them down, because if you burn the bridge down, they're never going to join the ecosystem and the community, and it's going to put a bad taste in their mouth. But if we're constantly building that bridge back up for them, then even if they don't join the community as far as holders, they will just join the community as being supporters of it. And I think that's really important. And I think we've done an amazing job of this throughout the first year. And I'm just excited for this kind of attitude to remain throughout the many years that we go.
Yep. Well said. We want to be welcoming. We want to play well with others. And if there's one thing that I've learned in trying to onboard people to anything, it's that everybody has their own time. And if we just give people time and space, drop a little seed, then they might come eventually. And everybody's got their own time. It's not my time, but theirs.
Yeah, sometimes it's just they need a little bit of time to educate themselves, right? Like that's the one thing I love about this protocol is it seems like once you finally get the right educational pieces over to people, it really starts to open up their eyes. It's just right off the bat, they haven't educated themselves yet. So they aren't open to the idea quite yet. But once they do educate themselves on the system, they seem to be very eager to be involved in. Yeah. They love the system. So yeah, just be patient. There's tons and tons of noise out there. There's tons of hay. It does take people a little bit to find the needle, but once they find the needle, their minds seem to open up to the idea. We just want to be welcoming for it.
Yeah, when you're winning this hard, there's no reason, there's no excuse to be treating people with disrespect. It is what it is. But we appreciate everybody who keeps coming up these spaces and showing up week after week. You guys are awesome. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, we sure do. Really do.
Yeah, so for closing it out, thank you to everyone who came up and spoke with us. It means the world. It's a lot more fun when people come up and add to the conversation with us. Even if you haven't came up, though, I just really appreciate everyone who came in to listen and educate yourself on the system, even if you're already educated on the system, because we rant about it every week. Just joining in and supporting means the world to us. So thank you so much.
Yep. We'll have some monthly stats on Monday and so much more, I'm sure.
Okay, sounds good. See you guys.
Thanks, Zen. Thank you, everybody. All right, guys. That's it, man. The space has ended. It was another good one. And I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Spend some time with your family. Go touch some grass. And live life. We'll see you again on Monday. God willing. Bye-bye.